Now on 100 members of the public who make up the People's Parliament. This programme was first shown last Saturday.
On the People's Parliament tonight, should workers in essential services be banned from striking? Proposing the motion is property consultant Chris Brown. Opposing is engineer and former shop steward Norman Smith. Which of these men will win the hearts and minds of the People's Parliament?
Welcome again to the People's Parliament. As the TUC gathers this weekend for its annual shindig, we examine one of the fundamental tenets of British trade unionism, the right to strike. The abolition of the right for workers in essential services, like health and transport, to withdraw their labour has been mooted now for some time by industrialists and politicians. This summer's rail strike has pushed these proposals to the forefront of the political agenda.
And for this week's People's Parliament, workers from essential industries, including some striking rail track employees, have been invited to view the proceedings from the Strangers' Gallery.
What do you think of the motion?
I totally oppose the motion itself. It's a fundamental right, but we do have the right to withdraw our labour. People have fought and died for it, and I think it's absolutely ludicrous situation if we ever lost it. As I say, we're a signalman and we're by a rail track. We've negotiated for over 7 years. If you can negotiate as much as you want, but if people aren't listening, then you've always got that fundamental right.
Can you understand any of the logic, if you like, behind the motion?
I understand the logic, but I don't agree with it. I have a way of thinking that, as I see it, it's a fundamental right. It's something that we all need. It's a last resort. It's always a last resort going on strike. Nobody wants to go on strike. Nobody needs it. But I'm not prepared to sell the birthright.
But would a ban be an outright attack on our basic democratic rights, or would it lead to a more pragmatic and modern approach to industrial relations? That is for the People's Parliament to decide.
The motion before the People's Parliament is that workers in essential services should not have the right to strike. Government ministers and the influential Institute of Directors say the British are actually out of step with Europe. The rail strike, for example, would have been impossible in Italy or France. But here, the police, armed forces and security services are the only folk unable to strike. Everyone else can. But if the Criminal Justice Bill becomes law, Scottish prison officers will become the latest reluctant recruits to the strike-free zone. They'll tell the TUC conference that the government is sentencing their group of workers to servitude. So, is a ban on strikes the last assault on trade union rights, or just a piece of industrial common sense? I call upon Chris Brown to propose the motion.
Thank you, Leslie. Fellow MPPs, strikes by essential workers in this country in the past have done an enormous amount of damage to this nation. Not only have they created havoc to the economy, brought great industries to their knees, and destroyed people's jobs, they have hit the old, the infirm, and the weak. It's vital that the weak don't suffer at the hands of the strong. So the time has come to take action to secure our future as individuals and a nation. And my film will show this.
Scab! Scab! Scab!
Remember the miners' strike and what it cost this nation. Remember the dustmen's strike and the chaos it dumped on our streets. Remember the power strike and the blackout it brought like the Blitz. For too long, strikers have had it their own way because we've been helpless to break their grip on essential services. You MPPs can change that and help lift a shadow from this nation.
I have a dry cleaning company, and if there was to be a prolonged strike of essential services, I wouldn't be able to do any part of my dry cleaning service, which would mean that eventually I would not be able to pay my staff, they would be out of work, and in the long run the business would fold.
Strikes and all the tools of smokestack socialism are out of date. Totally discredited in Eastern Europe. They certainly have no place in Britain, but the dustbin of history. What emerged